Of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Another wonderful day in the neighborhood. Got to button my shirt, got to put on some class. There you go. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Well, I left the button undone. I don't want to look like a slob. I mean, I have guests today, and so there you are. We have... Well, y'all introduce yourselves. Y'all school board candidates, Cody, Lee, and Ryan Watson. So we're going to talk a lot about what brand of whiskey they were drinking. And they said, yes, I will run for the school board. You know, they're shaking their heads like, I know what you're saying. So
very strong.
Yeah, very strong, yeah. But you're going to need it. One of you, you're Mr. Lee, you're an incumbent, right?
Yes, sir.
So you have no excuse, all right? But
Nope.
No, but Mr. Watson here, he's just a young man. He'll learn. Anyway, is this encouraging? Yeah, it's encouraging y'all now?
Yeah, I kind of knew what I was getting into, but you never really know until you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, right. Well, we're going to talk about the issues facing Joshua ISD, particularly since 3 of the schools are in Burleson city limits.
Right.
One of the junior highs, I believe, as well. But I know what Joshua is. I know the junior high is, or one of them anyway. And there's
Laughlin.
and there's another elementary school, I believe, that's in Burleson ISD.
Caddo.
Yeah, and then, I'm sure you're quite aware of that big development that Rocky Bransom is putting together.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to put almost all those kids will be in Joshua ISD. So we'll be talking about, I would guess almost a third, maybe in future, or at least a quarter of Burleson residents will be in Joshua ISD. And that's going to be a significant impact on both communities.
Right.
But before we get into all those details, let's talk about the sponsors that make all this possible. I bet you gentlemen, even if you live in Joshua, have been to our place before.
Fabulous.
Yeah, yes.
Fabulous.
Yeah, well,
Not a better breakfast joint in town, for sure.
It really is. And there's some good ones, I like that breakfast brunch over.
Oh, the brunch house.
Yeah,
Brunch house.
Those two are
yeah, they're good. And
top choices.
Good thing about Otto is that, he's not competitive in the sense like his gain is their loss. He's very, very generous.
They're good people.
Yeah, and also that Gina's Pizza has been up and running now for about a month, and it's been doing great business. I was there last week, and, it was full house on an early Wednesday. So speaking of Gina's, on Thursday night, all 4 of our city council candidates are doing a food drive at Gina's, and it'll be your last opportunity to come and shake their hand, hug their neck, whatever else you got in mind, and just bring a few canned goods with you. Because, our pantries it's getting tough. And I hear the same thing about the Joshua pantry. I don't know what they call it, but, we have Harvest House. And we have House of Hope here in Crowley, and then Promises Community in Burleson, and they're all just barely keeping their head above water.
Right.
So
Challenging.
yes, it is. So anyway, thank you, Otto, for all what you do. Also, thank you to Wild Cigar. You guys smoke cigars by any chance?
Okay.
Not very often.
But you've had one before, huh? Well, this is the place to get them. It's on over at Standard.
It's a neat place for
It's
sure.
a beautiful building also.
Yeah, and they're expanded. More and more businesses are over there, and it's a good place to go and have a quiet conversation. You don't go and get your ears blasted out with your 80s rock or whatever, and have the best humidor around. They have a lot of these events where the vendors will come around from around the country to have events at Wild. So thank you very much, Chris and Nathan. Also, thank you to Tiffany Nico over at Local Life Magazine. It's going to be coming out tomorrow. So you may get it tomorrow or Thursday, rather. And it's got 30,000 recipients of this, so it's a great place to advertise. And also, there's a lot of spare copies you'll find at the auto dealer or at the stores or whatever else. And so while you're, doing your business there, you can also look around and peruse that magazine. So it gets a lot of eyeballs. So thank you, Nico, Ms. Nico, Tiffany, for what you do. Also, this is also at the Standard. I see both of y'all are married, right?
We are.
You got to
Yes,
take your
sir.
wives, after all this campaigning is over, take her to Southern Gym and express your gratitude.
They certainly deserve it.
But a lot of people don't realize about campaigning, it's a family affair. I've had a lot of candidates here, and in some cases, I had either their spouse, and 1 or 2 times I had their kids, and it's all hands on deck, and they take when the dads or the moms who are running get criticized or whatever, they feel it. Probably even more so than the candidates do.
Yeah.
Most candidates just think you drop dead and blow it off, but the wives or the kids take it pretty personally.
Yeah, I think the negativity of it is definitely harder
Right.
for my wife to handle.
Well, then take her here.
Right.
Yeah, you know, and or you take her to Wild, have a cigar. I don't know. I've seen women smoking cigars. I walked in there about 3 weeks ago for a little sponsor care, if you want to call it that, and there was a couple of women there, just big old stogies, so it's no big deal. But anyway, they get a big event Saturday. Now, is y'all's election Saturday?
It is.
Okay, so you probably be busy for a lot of it, but if you're done over at Southern Gym at 4 to 7, having a Kentucky Derby party. Gala, the owner, is really big into equestrian sports, you know, like the hunter jumper thing and all that. I'm not very familiar with it, but the races and whatnot. And she has a little place off to the side where she can park the husbands while the wives go looking. And while they're watching, you know, whatever's on the television, usually it's either something from like the DIY channel or America's Day at the Races. You know, you can have a shot of bourbon or a beer or Dr. Pepper or whatever you want. And I thought it was pretty smart.
It's a good business strategy.
Yeah, it is. Because you don't have the husband saying, well, we got 10 more minutes. Oh, you take your time. You know,
I'm doing just fine.
Yeah, my wife works here, so I know it pretty well. And it's a big deal Saturday. And also they're going to have a benefit for Wings of Hope, whom I had on the show yesterday, equine therapy. And I learned a lot about that yesterday. It was a really good show. But this outfit it's technically Burleson, but it's in that not in a dead zone. I never know where I'm at near Egan. You know what I'm talking about? It's like that area. Is am I in Cleburne? Am I in Joshua? I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the addresses over there, Cleburne.
Yeah, right. It's just like I'm just out here in the twilight zone, but they're out there with their equine therapy. Dadgummit. There's a lot of stuff in here today. All right, there we go. Also, 2 maids. Brenda Ramirez, they'll come and clean your place and whatever it is, your home, your business, your apartment, whatnot. And you pay them by the rating instead of just having a flat rate or something like that, or a discount rate. Basically, they do the job, you rate them, and that's how they get paid. And so they're pretty motivated to do a pretty good job, and say the least. And I'm in a networking group with some of these people, and she's one of them. And a lot of our people in the network use them not just for themselves, but for their parents. You know, which I'm at that stage where my mom and dad need help.
Right.
And so that's a whole nother story. But anyway, 2maidscleaning.com/Burleson, 817-764-0733. Here's a group you may know, Old Pro Roofing here in Burleson. They do a lot of business in this area, but they also go all over DFW. They'll go as far as Little Elm and Argyle. That's where they were last week. John Williams. We'll come and check your roof out, 817-734-2756. You know, we had that big downpour Sunday morning, and I didn't have to worry about it because he said my roof was good to go. Well, he come by. I get my roof inspected now through him. He's in the group with me, and you know, he didn't try to upsell me or anything. He won't come and tell you your roof's about to cave in when it's fine. He will tell you if you need just minor repairs as opposed to a whole new roof and all that. They'll be straight with you. So, Old Pro Roofing. Also, Camco Mortgage Brokers, Sammy Campbell, Candy Gal. Sammy's at 817-778-4592. Candy's at 817-925-2661. And if you're looking to refinance or you have your first finance, you may want to check them out because I don't know what's going on with these rates. You know,
Nobody does now, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like you read in the paper and people try to guess and they guess wrong, and they don't guess. They'll tell you what's going on, and they deal with a lot of different companies, so they get you the best rate. So give them a holler if you're in need of home financing, and if you need home buying or selling, call Jeff Campbell over at the Wethington Agency. Where's the slide? There we go. Okay, it was a little slow at it. It's all right. Maybe I just going too fast. Call Jeff at 817-781-0546. 817-720-6300 is Jeff's number. JeffKellyRealty.com. Jeff at JeffRealty.com is his email, or selling817.com. So call Jeff if you're looking to buy a home or sell a home. He knows real estate. He'll be on the show in about a month. After all this stuff with the nonprofits we've been doing and the campaigns are over, I'm going to get back to certain more traditional programming, and Jeff's going to be on here to tell us all about it. So thank you, Jeff Kelly, for what you do. So give him a holler if you're looking to move your house. Okay, where to begin?
You got some great sponsors.
Yes, I do. Yeah. I'm very proud of them. I mean, I'm honored that they sponsor my show because not only are they good businesses, they're good people.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. without exception, are involved in community events, nonprofit support, things of that nature. Every time there's a nonprofit thing going on, they all pitch in. And that's a really good thing.
True community.
It really is.
It's the best part.
Yeah, and Burleson's really changed a lot. Since I moved here. I moved here in '91, and I was teaching here 3 years prior to that. So I've been part of this scene, I guess, since '88. And Burleson was kind of like Joshua was. Now Joshua's getting more like Burleson is now,
Right.
And that's challenging for a school district. So, Mr. Lee, since you are the incumbent, you get to go first. What is your professional background?
So I've been in the real estate business for not quite 15 years.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And-
and Joshua's growing just as fast as Burleson is.
Right. And for the last 4 years, I've been a broker and owner of League Real Estate here in Burleson.
Wait a minute. You didn't work with one of my friends then, Tamara Kilgore.
Oh, yeah.
She's in that group as well.
Oh, yeah.
Tamara's
Yeah.
a wonderful person.
She is a very wonderful person.
How about that?
So I've been doing that for the last 4 years. We opened our doors about this time in 2020. And then prior to that, I had a hotshot company in the oil and gas industry. Kind of hit a crossroad there to where all of the oil and gas activity in this area kind of was vacating to either West Texas or South Texas. And so I had to make a decision, either move my family to West Texas or South Texas or work on the road in one of those two locations. And luckily, a few years before I hit that crossroad, I got my real estate license without the intention of being a realtor, but just to dabble in some investing and whatnot. But it kind of just happened to work out fairly well for me. So I was able to transition right into it and kind of just consolidate and get out of the oil and gas world and get to stay home with my kids. I had young kids at the time. I'm not sure my son actually wasn't born quite then, but my daughter was. And so it would be hard to leave my wife, who works full time as well, and with a young kid and be on the road all the time. So it worked out very well, and that's basically what I've been doing since I graduated college.
So you work out of the office there near Old Town.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's not, probably all those businesses there and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And Mr. Watson, what do you do?
Yeah, I'll go back to, I grew up in Joshua. Been here most of my life, lived in Fort Worth for a few years after college. But while I was in college, I interned at an advertising agency and then worked retail until I got out. And went to work for Fort Worth legendary company, Justin Boot Company.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so I hired on as a traveling salesman, so did that for about 8 years, and then promoted into our corporate office and worked as a national sales manager. We had 30 sales reps running across the country, so kind of helped manage our, I think we had 2,500 accounts at that point in time with 30 sales reps. So massive company owned by Berkshire Hathaway at this point. But
Isn't everything owned by Berkshire Hathaway?
Seems like it,
for
right?
better or worse at this point, it's definitely changed, like everything across the country. So my father started his own business. He kind of got the ball rolling on that in 2018. So I jumped ship from Justin to come kind of help him and support the family business and hopefully push the ball forward on that in 2019. So little did we know, and did anybody know, the challenges that were to face the country and the world in 2020. So
Right.
I didn't realize, Cody, that you had started your business in 2020. So we got plenty of challenges faced.
We did.
So
A lot of unknowns at the time, and I mean, we just took a leap of faith.
Yeah, really. Well, one of your friends is watching, Leah Bridges, right?
Oh,
She says, hey.
hello, Leo.
Hello, Leah.
She'll be on Thursday, actually, to talk about the bond issue, which I'll be asking you about in a few minutes. But I did send y'all some ideas of kind of like what we want to talk about. And your professional backgrounds, particularly in real estate, is going to be very helpful. And also, particularly since you've been managing an organization, or a large chunk of it, it's going to be very helpful. So you have those skills you're going to be able to bring forward because, as you know, Mr. Lee, it's a steep learning curve. It helps to bring in some experience. But as far as your backgrounds and education and motivations for running, why do you do this? Because, that's a good question. I'm sure people have been asking you, but, you don't get paid. You take a lot of static and, it's your fault regardless if it's your fault. And, and if you choose A and somebody wants you to choose B, they often tell you about it. So
Definitely so.
So why do you do it?
I mean, I do it for the love of the school, right? I mean, both of us are born and raised here. I mean, I grew up here, graduated in 2001, Joshua. And I mean, it gave a lot to me in those years, you know? And so when me and my wife decided to start a family and whatnot, I mean, we chose Joshua because of what it was. And I mean, I went to college to be a teacher and a coach.
Where'd you go?
Tarleton.
Tarleton. You know, so many of the teachers I worked with, Tarleton, UTA, North Texas.
Yeah.
So
Loved Tarleton. It was a great school. And so like I always felt like that was kind of my, you know, my calling was to be a teacher and a coach. And so that's what, you know, going straight into Tarleton, that's what my mind was set to do. But I just happened to come across some business opportunities kind of as I was getting close to graduation that I took advantage of, and kind of had that entrepreneurial, you know, kind of mindset. And so it kind of took off from there. So I never got into it, but I mean, his dad was actually a school board member when I was in school.
is that right?
Yeah. And there was a couple of family friends of ours that were also board members that I just remember being in high school and just seeing those folks. And I just kind of always admired that position. You know, it just kind of meant something to me.
Well, I've gotten to know some of the Burleson, over the years, Burleson ISD school board members pretty well. Some of them I was friends with before they became school board members. A couple of them are ex-students over the years. And so I've had a pretty good insight as to what's going on. And I guess, Mr. Watson, since your father was on, you got it up close and personal. And you still decided to do it.
Right. Probably against my better judgment. And I mean, jokingly, but also seriously. I approached him, and it's always been on my heart most of my life to be as involved in the community as I could be. But, you know, I told my wife throughout the years that when it comes time for us to have children, this is where we want to be. And that's the reason we moved back to the Joshua Burleson area, I mean, because of the school district and really what the school and the community has done for me. So that's where my love of education started was, you know, I just had some of the most incredible teachers and coaches coming through Joshua. And I tried to participate in every elective and every sport that I possibly could. And you know, there's still a lot of those teachers and coaches and people, faculty and staff that are still here that, you know, I feel obligated to give back to them, but really it's the community at large as a whole that it has meant so much to me. And it's helped me get to where I'm at professionally, helped me get where I'm at in my relationship with my religion and with my family and my children. And we have lifelong friends, but we have, with the influx of people moving into this community, I mean, we have some of our best friends today are people that we've met over the last 2 or 3 years that moved here for the same reasons that we did. So, you know, when I told my father I was considering it, you would think he would pat you on the back and say, I'm proud of you, son. But
Right.
Mm-hmm.
he asked me, are you insane? Do you not remember?
He said the exact same thing to me when I ran.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting because that same thing's happened in Burleson. You know, when I taught those classes all those years, you know, the kids are like, I can't wait to get the heck out of here. I'm going to go live in the big city or whatever. But a lot of them come back. A bunch come back. You know, we get a lot of people that come in and they're not, you know, they're not from California or whatever. They're usually from the DFW area, and they come back to Burleson and Joshua and Godley, and Cleveland's even getting some growth. And so it's interesting, you know, you talk about that. But see, the thing is, I'm knowing what I know about you because I asked a couple of questions and whatnot, and you know, Leah was very complimentary about both of y'all. People that run for school boards sometimes run thinking they're going to run the schools, and that's not really that's not what happens, is it?
No.
I mean,
not at all.
You know, you have one employee, basically, superintendent, and other than that, you know, y'all set policies, you set budget, and whatever. But the idea that you can pick and choose teachers and whom to employ or unemploy, that's not how it happens. And people that get on the board, and we've had over the 30 years I've been in this area, we had a couple of board members over the 30 years that thought that they were going to run the schools, and they found out very quickly that community that's not what they wanted them there for.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, as far as y'all's vision for the schools, that's not the same thing as a demand, but what would you like to see Joshua be doing 10 years from now?
I mean, flourishing, right? I mean, continuing to excel. Like when I got on the board, I didn't get on the board to change it because it was broke, right? The district wasn't broke. I mean, it was an A-rated district. I mean, it was excelling in a lot of different areas. And so for me to get on the board, I just wanted to make sure we continued that, right? And just continue to keep it on the path that it's on. And, 10 years from now, still be a desired district for people to come, to want to be a part of. I mean, being in real estate, I see it every day. I mean, people are, when they want to look for a home, it's probably the top district that they want to be in when they're.
Wait a minute! I was told Burleson was the top district, so I know just a little
depends on who you ask, but right.
Just being hometown booster, I got it.
Right.
But Shandy Stockstill's been on so many times.
Right.
Tamara's told you. Jeff Kelly's told me 2 things I look for right away: schools, police, all right, and then business opportunities. But without those first 2, the others don't matter. And the schools,
I agree.
Even if you're not have kids in school yet, you're still thinking to the future,
Right.
and but I remember Joshua schools back when I started. They were fine, but they were a small country town, right?
Right. That's how they were when we were in school.
Yeah, not anymore, right?
No.
And with that comes not just growing expectations, but growing demands, financially and otherwise.
Comes needs.
Needs, yes, and that's. How about you, Mr. Watson? What do you see happening in the next 10 years for Joshua?
No, I mean, there's obviously the obligation to give every child in the community the best opportunity possible to get an education and a quality education. And, at my church, I'm in part of a men's group, and on the wall is written that there's children in this community that go home every day that don't know that they're loved.
Oh, yes. Oh, I could tell you stories, one of the things about being a high school teacher is a lot of those needs aren't quite as obvious because the kids have gotten used to either adapting or hiding them a bit and whatever else.
Right.
But, we think Burleson and Joshua in this area is fairly prosperous. Mom and dad, 2.3 kids or whatever. And, everything is just wonderful. But I had kids that had real problems, food insecurity, as they call it now. But they didn't know if they were going to have dinner or not,
Right.
And that kind of thing. And we're not a poor town, but there are people in it that have these kind of needs. So
No, certainly. I got teachers in the family, one within the district, and got a ton of friends that grew up with or have just met over the course of time that have become teachers and recognized amongst their peers. I mean, Joshua is incredibly lucky to have the faculty and staff and teachers that they have, but you just hear horror stories that just make you want to sit in a corner and crawl up in a ball about kids that, not everybody has the same opportunities. They don't all come from the same financial situations and backgrounds, but they all deserved to be loved. They spend so much time. It's like us. You grow up to be an adult and you end up spending more time around some of your coworkers than unfortunately you get to with your kids or wives on a nightly basis by the time you get home. And these kids spend majority of their lives from kindergarten through their senior year of school, if they're lucky, to be around people that, not only are they educating them, but they're shaping who these children have the potential to become over the course of their lives. So obviously, I feel like there's a huge obligation for the community at large, but the school district to go in and help these kids, give them an opportunities. But really, the original question that you ask is, why am I doing it, or what do I think I can bring to the table? Throughout my professional career, throughout my childhood, I feel like I've had the ability to help bridge the gap between people that, maybe you have the same common goals, but you're on different sides of the coin, or you're looking at things from a different way. So my ultimate reason for running is that I have friends and family that's on different sides of a lot of these different arguments. And, if you're able to step back and analyze and see these things and do the research, a lot of times there's misconceptions or there's just communication things that people haven't heard, they don't understand. And you're really never that far off in your core principles and values and what the end result and what you're trying to accomplish. So I hope if I'm fortunate enough to be elected and be a part of this school district, my goal is to continue to bring the community together as taxpayers and as an ISD. It really is what I'm here for, to be honest.
Right.
I want to deviate a little bit from some of the things we had talked about prior to the show, but what's happening on this show is that I've got a lot of nonprofits on here, and they're barely keeping their heads above water, like we mentioned earlier. And we're having more and more of a homeless situation that maybe our little cities aren't able to handle. There's always talk about using the schools as a potential means of alleviating some of those problems. Like at Everman here, they have a food bank, and I think Crowley's doing something similar at North Crowley High School. Is this the kind of thing that y'all are hearing about from the community in Joshua? Because I know the board members and the city council members are hearing it here. They said, is there something we can do about it through the schools? Because you already have the facilities, you already have the infrastructure. Has that been an issue in y'all's elections? I
mean, it's always an issue, I think, anywhere in the country, really. And I mean, it is, like you said, school is where a lot of these kids get their meals, right? And so, I mean, it's something that we always kind of look at and discuss and try to find ways that we can help alleviate some of those issues. It's just an ongoing thing, I mean, you just can't avoid it.
I don't know in the near future that it's going to get any better. It's probably only going to get worse.
Well, even if the economy stays the same, which I hope it doesn't, tell you the truth, I hope it gets better. But what's happening, what the nonprofits are telling me is that they got people sleeping in their cars, they got kids that basically don't have a place to live, that if it weren't for breakfast and lunch, and on and on and on. And what gets to me is there are certain factions in every community that think that that's not what a school should be doing, and that's exceeding the mandates of the schools. How do y'all view that?
I mean, that's pretty difficult. I mean, it is. It's not necessarily the school's responsibility, but it is. I mean, the community is to make sure. I mean, our ultimate goal as a school district is take care of these kids and make sure they get what they need. Yes, on the education level, right, is our obligation. But just as a community as a whole, I mean, we got to step up and do something in that area.
Well, there are a lot of schools that are becoming not just pantries, but also like clothing closets, if you will.
Right.
I read about a couple of them.
Yeah, we do that at the high school.
Yeah, yes, you don't have enough right clothes, or if you can't. Y'all don't use uniforms, do you?
No, sir.
Okay, well, some do, and the reason they do that is because it's just cheaper. They don't have to buy a new set of clothes all the time. But the point is that what's happening now is you got schools that are doing more than just teaching the kids. They're using their nurses station maybe to help them with other health issues and stuff. Because these are registered nurses in our places, they can do certain things. And some people don't like that. And this is way, way before your time. Back in the 90s, they were going to make health clinics out of the school clinics. And they were going to be open like 24 hours or something like that in the weekends and all this other stuff. And that really got a lot of reaction. Plus, they wanted to use it to distribute birth control. And that was just like, wait, that's way too far.
It starts getting a little tough at that, at that level.
And I'm not advocating that at all.
Right.
But that's what people think. What I'm advocating and hope is that we can establish certain facilities within the budget, within reason, to help kids with clothing and food needs, and minor health issues. I mean, I don't, nothing like prescribing drugs, but doing more than just giving them candy when they have a sore throat.
Right.
Because the nurses I know were frustrated because of all the rules.
And that's the tough part of it, right? You got all the laws, rules, and regulations.
Right.
Staying within those and still, providing to the needs. It's difficult.
Be clear. I thought Ann Richards, who brought this up when she was giving it, far exceeded what the schools should be doing. But I just think there are things that can be done within reason, within appropriateness to help out these kids, And
I mean, just like you mentioned, just the clothing closets, food pantries, stuff like that. I mean, I think those are kind of the smaller and easier ways that the school can be involved, but it also, like I said, at the high school level, it also kind of teaches them, it's some community service for those students, and it opens their eyes to kind of some of the situations. Some of those students that don't have those experiences at home, it's a learning experience for them.
If you can find creative ways to get the students of the district involved, I mean, let's be honest. It doesn't
even take funds to do it, right? I mean, it's just kind of engaging the community in that process, and being a a donation, location or something like that.
There's so much support from that. I mean, as
And a
outside of the
distribution
school
spot.
district, just as a parent and a community member, and a community is the
Right.
word that keeps being brought up, and it should, because that's what made Joshua what it is today. It was a small community and it's growing, but it's the community as a whole that made it as special as it is. And there's so much support, not just with parents of kids in the district, but across the city that would support these things. And the question's always brought up, well, where does the budget come from? But, there's enough intelligent people, that are here for the right reasons that care about this community where you can come up with creative solutions for this. And, maybe you do get the children of the district involved in this. And, there's a lot to be learned from that.
Well, when I was teaching, we had a class called Peer Assisted Leadership, or PALS. I don't know if y'all do
PALS.
that.
We do PALS.
Okay. And I was the teacher that did that. And it really opened up the eyes because these kids would go out and they're working through Harvest House or Rachel's Hope Resale for Next Step Women's Center and on and on. And they, I guess they didn't really realize what's going on. And so I'm glad that y'all are doing that program. I was going to suggest it. I don't know why I got on this topic, frankly. I guess I've been dealing with the nonprofits a lot, like yesterday, and Harvest House and House of Hope. And the need is great. And it doesn't seem to be getting any less. And I just wonder if y'all as a school district are feeling those same things that we are. And apparently y'all are. What do y'all see as the biggest concern you have for Joshua ISD?
I mean, right now the biggest concern is funding.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cross state. Mm-hmm. I mean, our funds are being withheld or kind of held hostage to try to get a certain bill passed. Mm-hmm. And I mean, for the last 2 years, we've had to operate in a deficit. Luckily, we've been fiscally responsible enough to be able to withstand it. But now we're at the point where we're having to make cuts, budget cuts. Mm-hmm. And funding's the number one thing. And that is going to be something that, that we're going to have to manage at least for next year or two until we do get some assistance from the state. But I mean, it's difficult right now.
It's really disappointing
it's really disappointing.
Texans that, we're in this situation because it is the money, the funding is by far, in my opinion, the greatest challenge that we face in the short term. And depending on what the outcome over the next few years is, possibly the long term. Right. I just don't feel like Texas should be in this position. And there's certain people that have put us in this. And I hope, like anything else, I hope the voters show up and they see it. And, again, there's enough good people in this community, in this state, where we can figure this thing out sooner rather than later.
Well, from an outsider's viewpoint, from somebody not in the district, what I see is one of your biggest issues is your schools are getting overcrowded. Yeah, because Burleson went through that stage. I had situations for at a class more than one where the kids are sitting on the floor because we didn't have not enough desks or enough room for the desks, and things of that nature. And so we were understaffed for the number of students we had, and I know that a couple of elementaries, I believe North Joshua
and Allard are over capacity.
Over capacity,
and Cattle Grove is within maybe 20 students of.
Right, and these are Burleson residents, right? Okay, so you're thinking out there in vast listener audience land that, well, that's their problem. No, it's our problem here in Burleson too, because these are our kids, going to Joshua schools, and they're, we got to a point where, the kids at the BHS not only sitting on the floor in classrooms, but sitting, on the steps at the cafeteria, going through the hallways was brutal. I don't know if that's happened at Joshua High School, but it's going to happen soon.
It is.
If it's not today, it'll be within a couple of years.
Right.
With the growth that we're all having. That's what I saw is the problem.
It is. I mean, so basically growth and funding are our two biggest woes right now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's why we're, going for the bond. Mm-hmm. It's a tough time in an economy to go for bonds.
Yes, it is.
With taxes the way they are, and with property values going through the roof, which I see every day on my end. I mean, the real estate market has been great even through COVID, and really, it skyrocketed in COVID, which in turn affects our property taxes, and it's tough. And I understand that bonds aren't necessarily the ideal way to get the funds, but it's what we're faced with. I mean, it's the process that we're given to get those funds to build the schools, to expand the current schools we have, renovate and upgrade the features that we need. I mean,
I think there's a really fine line that anybody involved in any school district has to walk in regards to, it's easy to say that if you put a bond forward in front of the community, you know, in a time when there are people struggling, I mean, there's always people struggling regardless, but this time is especially difficult with tax appraisals and everything going on in the world. You know, inflation just through the roof, and wages haven't caught up to that and probably won't for the foreseeable future. But
and neither has school funding.
No, school funding hasn't either. And I think it's important to note that the people that sit on this board or any other board, they're doing the best with the situation that they're given. You know, we all hope that school funding and the structure of it all, it needs an overhaul. It needs to be changed. But at the end of the day, as an elected official in your community, Cody, for example, it's my opinion that you are to do the best for your community with what you've been given. So, you know, to put these plans in place and to just put a bond in front of people, you know, if you go through the information and that's where the board deems, you know, that's going to be the best route for the community, you know, I see it as a community member outside of my own race as a little irresponsible of people to just accuse you of not caring about the community just because you put a bond forth. You're dealing with the situation.
Did I hear that correctly? You don't care about the community because you are putting forward a bond?
I've been
some of the criticism we've got.
Yeah, I've been accused of if you support the bond, that, you know, and I know that the board has, but
that you don't care about the community. That's an interesting argument.
There's
another word for it, but I'll just stick with interesting.
To be fair, you know, every argument gets thrown out, and politics brings out the worst in people for whatever reason. But it also brings out a lot of solutions in the long run too. There's communication that, for whatever reason, doesn't happen whenever, you know, there's not stuff to talk about. So
I
look at it as an opportunity to push the ball forward as a community and really come together and figure out how to get this done together, because it's not going to get done with any one or two individual people, regardless of what side of the fence you sit on.
No, well, it has to be a collaborative effort.
What drives me crazy a little bit with the school arguments from my end is people who say, well, I don't have kids in the district, so why am I supporting this? Like, are you serious, really? The quality of your district, your community, is so much derives from the quality of the schools. And they're like, but I don't have any kids in there, so what do I care? And no, you don't. Everybody benefits from a great school district, even the people without kids. Yeah. And also, they some of the older ones anyway will compare what they went through in education and say, why are we doing all this other stuff now? Well, this isn't 1970. You know, this is
the world changes. You got to adapt, right?
The requirements of what graduates of high school are much greater than they were even when I was in high school. I graduated in 1980, and we didn't have calculus, and we didn't have. I think the highest math we had was trig. We didn't have all these AP courses. We didn't have all these stuff that are now not just really great to have, but necessary.
Right.
And so when people say, "Well, it was good enough for me, it should be good enough for these kids," like, what's the matter with you? You know, the olden days where you can come out of high school and go get a job at the beer plant, those days are gone.
Right.
And they got to be highly technical even to do that, or any other job like that. So I get that's just my grievance. Is some people just are very short-sighted about why they need to be behind a school that they may not have a direct attachment to, something like that.
But if they're in the community of that school, they do have a direct attachment to it.
They do, but they don't see it sometimes because they don't have a kid in the school.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, no.
When you get through the weeds on that argument, oftentimes it comes down to tax appraisals.
Yes,
they look at their property value going up through the roof, and, you know, I do feel for everyone. I mean, we all feel it. I don't like paying taxes any more than anyone else. No. And I hate, you know, you sit around and you wait for your new appraisals to come out knowing that they're going to be.
Oh, I got mine last week, and it's a substantial jump. But I don't blame the schools. It's Scott Porter over in Cleveland, you know, whatever.
Right.
You know, so what am I going to do? And I've had the argument brought back to me when I said all these things about the quality of their district. They're like, well, what if I don't want more people in my town on my appraisals? They want to go back to the way it was in 1970 or whatever. It ain't happening. It's not happening. You know, in real estate, what an advantageous situation this county is in, real estate-wise, being so close to DFW and I-35 and all that. You know exactly why they're coming here. They're coming whether we want them to or not.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, you can't stop it. You can't stop progress.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to get not necessarily get on board with it, but you got to prepare and plan.
Yes.
And
Because they're coming. You know, when I grew up in a very large, expanding community, Plano, back in the 70s. All right.
man.
Okay, when I moved to Plano, it was about the size of Joshua. When I graduated high school 6 years later, it was over 100,000 people. And I was going to schools that were barely finished, and sometimes even incomplete, but they had to put us somewhere, right?
right.
And so they were coming to Plano, whether Plano was ready or not. And, it was a very interesting time in those late 70s, because, I mean, it seems like every time you turn around, they're building a school. And we may not be quite like that, but we're at a situation. Y'all need a couple more elementaries, don't you?
Well, yeah, we need one for sure.
Yeah, at least one. Burleson's getting to that point where we need another one as well.
Yep.
I don't know if you're at the stage you need 2 high schools yet, do you?
No, I don't. I think that's a good ways down the road.
I hope so.
Or at least hope it is. But we are going to have to make some adjustments and some expansions to prevent it,
Right.
or we will. you know.
Well, when we split to 2 high schools, it left a mark on the community. So if you can avoid that as best you can, I would. That's my personal advice: is try to avoid splitting your high schools. I mean, because it did take us from a one high school town where everybody supports the Elks to them and us kind of situations.
It does.
And you don't really want that.
That's sad.
Well, it's inevitable. The same thing happened back in my hometown of Plano. We had one high school. Everybody loved the Wildcats. And 2 years after I graduated, Plano East opened up. And so there you go. And the same things happened, us and them. Why are they getting this and we're not getting that?
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. And the school board has to make those decisions. Yeah, so, which is not fun. But as far as this bond goes, usually you just don't say, first of all, how much is it?
Total, it's $106 million.
Okay, and you just don't say, give me $106 million and we'll tell you what we're going to do later. So how is it divided up?
So the committee had split it up into 4 props. Mm-hmm. So they get the opportunity to vote on 4 different props individually. Mm-hmm. Prop A is for an elementary school and expansion to Nichols Middle School. Prop B is to renovate and expand the high school cafeteria. And then Prop C is to expand our CTE, the Career and Technical Education Program. And then Prop D is just for district-wide upgrades and to safety and security.
Safety and security is a big one because I don't know if you're doing this yet, but are any of your schools using portables yet?
Not yet.
But see, we did. When we were in the old building, so to speak, or, on Johnson Street, the old high school, we had a whole raft of portables. Until we moved into 98, we moved into the building BHS is now. And within about 15 years, we had portables all over the back. And those are unsafe. Bad weather. Also, there's no plumbing out there. So when a kid says, I need to go to the men's room, we'll see you in a couple of days. That kind of thing. Or if, God forbid, you have one of these events we keep reading about.
More and more every day.
Yeah, they're not well protected, no matter what kind of security you're trying to provide. So, and we had portables in some of the elementaries, and that's even worse. And so I would urge people to vote for this bond just for the fact that that's the best way to provide a safe environment for your kids. It's not just a good learning environment, but a safe environment.
Right.
And as far as the CTE...
Which at the end of the day, that's,
you can't...
Returning kids safe at home.
Right.
It's got to be your number one priority.
You'll hear a lot about that? Do you hear a lot about that on
I think anytime you talk to parents or anyone in the community, especially with what's gone on in the world in the last 10, 20 years, I mean, it's only a more increasing issue, safety and security in general. I mean, as a technology advances, the ability to secure campuses and keep students safe, but it goes back to it all takes funding to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to have the facilities to do what you need to do, but they have to be safe and secure. And that goes, as a business owners, we think about that every day with our employees. We think about it from every aspect that you can get. It's just the world that we live in. And, I definitely see that as an obligation of the district to provide the utmost security that they can.
Do y'all have an SRO program?
Well, we have a district police.
Okay. I remember that now because it was a big point of discussion for us a couple of years ago to have our own police force, and we went the SRO route, which is what I'd preferred actually. But you talk about responsibilities. Besides having a safe environment, it's a responsibility to graduate students that are going to be prepared for college or careers, or the military or whatever they're going to. And it's so much more than when we were y'all were in school. I mean, you're much younger than I am, but even now it's much more. You talk about CTE and everything else. I get bewildered by new technology. I can only imagine if some kid comes out of high school and he's already a leg behind because the school wasn't adequate in preparing him or her.
Right.
And so that's another responsibility. And that's how, I guess, if I were talking about with skeptical voters or whatever else, and said, look, this isn't our mom and dad school district.
No.
And that's a lot of criticism that CTE gets is that the people that want to do away with it just prefer us to get back to the basics.
Who wants to get rid of CTE? I can't imagine
reading, writing, and math, just normal basic.
It boils down to the funding that needs to be provided for it, and college has changed.
Boy, it has
so much. And in my opinion, it's a good thing. Now it almost seems like college is going the other direction. People are waking up from a lot of things that are negative at the end of the day for as a father with young kids. I don't look at college the same way now that I did as a young man growing up. That was what you aspired to do, and you go to college to learn whatever field that you want to go into. But now CTE, to me, we need more. It's not for everyone, and it shouldn't be. No, that education system is completely different, and we need more skilled workers, regardless of what they're going into. It gives them more opportunities more than anything. It's not just about what comes next educational wise. It gives them options. I don't know too many kids that know what they want to be when they're 18 years and graduate, and two, right. If they did, a lot of times they end up down a different total career path to begin with.
I can raise my hand there. I wanted to be a stockbroker, and here I am, a school teacher. All right, but the thing about it is that when people think of CTE, sometimes they think about computers and programming and all that, but it also is plumbers and welders and things like that. And Burleson has a pretty good CTE program. I had their CTE director, Randy Woolsey, was here to talk about it about 3 months ago. And, and I got some plumbing work coming in. Thank you, Matt Cobb. But that guy's going to make some money, And I thought, these guys make good livings without ever stepping a foot on college campus. But we got to get them to that point where they can get at least to the next level and go to Hill College over in Cleveland and go get training for that. Go be a HVAC repair guy and whatever else and make a decent living.
Yep.
And if people think the only obligation a school has is to make sure they know the reading and writing and arithmetic, they're living in the 19th century.
I think you fail the kids at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, they're going to be running this country at some point, a few generations down the road.
I could do without that thought, but whatever.
I think the more skilled, level of education that you can give them, the better. College isn't in the cards for everybody. And, whether it be because of interest or because of, some just can't flat out afford it, right? They could go get student loans and whatnot, but that don't necessarily want to graduate with $100,000 worth of student loan debt.
Right. Well, I teach at Hill College at night, and during the day, depends on my schedule. I'm an adjunct there. And I'm also just been recently appointed to the Burleson Opportunity Fund. Have y'all familiar with that? Mm-hmm. Have y'all ever thought about a Joshua Opportunity Fund?
Well, so we have somewhat of a similar. We have the Education Foundation. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the Opportunity Fund. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the way the funds are distributed and whatnot is the same or not, but it's fairly similar.
Well, we have a secret weapon on the BOF, and her name is Patsy Dumas. Mm-hmm. And because she's this lady that she walks in and asks for your car and your house for a good cause. Well, here they are. You're not going to tell her no. And right. Everybody just loves her. But if you ever really wanted to pursue something like BOF, talk to her. Yeah, there's several others that are involved because that's really made a difference for a lot of the Burleson kids because I teach a lot of the BOF recipients, and they don't know what they want to do. But they're not spending a ton of money over TCU to find out that they don't know what they want to do.
Right.
And so that would be something.
So does all their funding go back to the students, or does it go, do they fund programs in the school too?
it goes to Hill College, but it goes
Does go to Hill College.
Yeah, but I don't think this opportunity fund is like, here's money to the kid and go use it for Texas Tech or something like that. It's through Hill College.
Okay, so it's I got you.
Yeah,
So ours is totally different.
Well, we have a lot of other scholarships. That's totally separate from BOF.
Yeah.
BOF is a private nonprofit. It's not a part of BISD. And so but we have those kind of scholarships too. But as far as BOF, what they do is, they raise money, and then basically they take the number of applicants that qualify from Burleson high schools that want to go to Hill, and whatnot, and then we just basically pay for it. And they never ever handle the money themselves. It goes straight to Hill.
Yeah.
But it's really great because we've been doing that for a while now, and a lot of kids have gotten a start. And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to go and take government class like I teach or history, whatever. They don't take that BOF money and go over to Cleveland and learn how to weld or, HVAC or, plumbing or whatever else they got over there. It's a good program to consider. And since it's not part of the school budget directly, the school system, to be clear, does contribute some money to the BOF, but it's not a budget line item like you might think.
Yeah.
So
Had some really good conversations with people in the community, specifically on CTE, because it tends to elicit a strong response one way or another.
Right.
But what I've heard recently is, in concept, it's a great idea. It's all about the execution of it all.
Yeah,
and what comes down to how do we make sure that we're putting the funds in the right places, the programs are appropriate and correct for the students. But really, for people that tend to be on the fence about contributing additional money to the bond, you're always going to have both sides. People that vote no, regardless, because it's a tax increase, and people that say yes because they support Joshua ISD no matter what. But everything in between, that argument comes down to how can we make sure that whenever we invest this money as a community in an ISD, that, not that this is a business that you only measure the ROI on, but how can we make sure that, if this program a year or two down the road, we invest X amount of money, are we seeing that it's impacting these students? Are they taking it? Are they getting scholarships? Are they further pursuing this path? Or is there another opportunity somewhere else that maybe you get more of a direct impact off of? Really, ROI on where does that money go, and how do we measure it, and how do we make sure that it went to the right place, and if not, that it goes to a place where it most benefits the students in the community at the end of the day. So, I think transparency is always a word, and I think that the school district as a whole does a great job of being transparent. But I think as we continue to go down these paths that are different than education was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, the more that we can target these items and measure them and make sure that we're continue to push the ball forward, I think we'll continue to gain more support for those types of programs from the taxpayers within the community.
Because it is. I mean, just like growth, CTE is kind of the future.
it is.
Right. And so, our CTE is honestly fairly basic compared to the surrounding districts. You go to look at Cleveland, Burleson, Crowley, look at their CTE facilities, and we are way far behind.
Yeah, Mansfield has some pretty impressive facilities.
Mansfield, Arlington. A lot of schools are building CTE campuses.
Right.
And
We have one.
And there's a reason,
The game school
right?
one. Yeah. We have the game school one on Wilshire. That's a specialized high school, if you will.
Right.
But there's other issues also that face the school board. And I do believe that this bond needs to be passed because the crowding issue and the CTE issues alone and the safety issues. To me, I understand I'd be pitching in a few more bucks every month. I'm okay with that. What bugs me, for a lot of people, they say it's the money. Quite often it's not. It's the philosophy of it. It's the idea that, we're giving more money to the government kind of idea, or the idea that we're involving our students in things that, we never experienced, therefore we don't value them.
Yeah.
Do you ever get issues like on curriculum matters brought to y'all? Because it's not very often. It's happened in my experience, but there's been 2 or 3 times where a small vocal group, raise Cain about what's being taught in the schools and that kind of thing. You get that very often?
Yeah, we do get that.
Yeah. And what do you tell them?
You just got to stick to your principles. If you listen to them, right? If they have a valid point, then that's something we got to look at. But most of the time, there's not, right? I mean, we're not. Joshua's a pretty conservative town. We got a pretty conservative board. I mean, the things that you hear about, nationwide that
Right.
kind of is penetrating the ISDs, I mean, it's not happening.
Well, see, my view is, and it's not happening in Burleson either. My view is they see something on Fox happening in Virginia, for example. They always seem to pick on Virginia schools because they're doing some pretty stupid stuff, to be frank. Yeah. And they think, well, that must be happening here. And it's like, no, we're not having those issues here. We're not teaching critical race theory here.
No.
We're, and what people don't realize in the classroom, I could tell you, we don't have time to waste on, exotic ideas and theories and whatever else. Because we got to get through the school year in limited time, and quite often there's a test waiting for them at the end of the school year.
Right.
We don't have time for this.
No, teachers in today's day and age face more challenges than probably ever in the history of education. So, I mean, I have full confidence that in a community of our size, if there was something going awry,
exactly,
it would be. There'd be a meeting in the middle of the city about it. So
you would know about it very quickly.
Oh yeah,
and it would be addressed. I mean, that's when.
I don't think Burleson's had one recently, but I have been with the district when they've had people that were upset about an English curriculum or whatever, or the science curriculum, things of that nature. But that's over 30 years experience of that. So, it's bound to happen, but it really does bother me sometimes when we still have a retrograde type mentality with a small segment of the community that dominate Facebook or other social media to make people think that's not attached to the schools, that y'all are wasting money or you're pursuing personal goals and whatever else. And like, no.
If anything, it takes away from our personal time to achieve other.
I got to tell you right now, any school board member, and like I said, there's very, very few of us, few that I said over the years that really did this. But those that had a personal agenda, they were found out pretty quick and didn't get reelected or were advised not to run again.
If you have a personal agenda, you're getting on the board for the wrong reason.
You're absolutely right. I'm like, again, I've been blessed that I only talk about maybe a very, very small handful, but they get found out pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen here too.
Yeah.
I know that just from what I've seen in the Joshua school race, there's some elbows being thrown.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess you knew that going into it, but still, it's still not fun.
No.
How are the wives taking it?
Mine's doesn't take it very well.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I got to control her behavior from it. But.
Knowing his wife and my wife, they're both very tough, strong, independent women. So they probably do better than the average person would. But, it's Cody and I are big boys. We knew going into this, Cody's second time around, that what we're getting into. But at the end of the day, man, the people in this community are worth the battle.
Right.
And where we want this community to be for the future too, not just, where it's been and where we are today. I mean, I want Joshua to continue to be a model of excellence whenever my kids are having kids. I want them to want to come back and be a part of this community. But also, we have to do this in a way that times are tough.
Yeah.
Everyone's making budget cuts. It doesn't matter if it's in the school district or a small business or a large business. I mean, there's real challenges facing the world right now. And if you ignore them, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing your community a disservice. But at the same time, it's a responsibility of any elected official to make plans. Vouchers is a great topic to discuss that too.
Right.
I mean,
I wish you had more time. I was going to bring it up. But,
that's a whole another topic.
Yeah, maybe when y'all win, because I'm putting it out there, you're going to win. You can come back in a few months and we could talk about those kind of things. Because I would like to do that with the school board members at BISD as well, because I bet y'all have a lot in common.
I mean, that's something that we're going to have to come together on as a community, as a state, as districts. Everybody's got to come together on that.
Well, we're getting close on time, and I'm going to let y'all have the last couple of minutes to, make a commercials kind of thing, at the end here. So just to, sum up what you think in the next couple of minutes. You go first, Mr. Lee.
I mean, for me, it's continuing the success that we've already had in our district, and then just keeping keeping steadfast in that direction. And at the end of the day, the decisions that we make, they can't be just for the community and not for the district. It's got to be for everybody as a whole. And that's what I've always tried to keep, and my focus on is no matter what decision is made is that it benefits the majority of the people, right? It's not, you're not going to make everybody happy, but you just got to do what you feel in your heart is right. And that's what I've always done. We've accomplished a lot, and we've had some not some good moments. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect, but I do everything I can. I love my community. I love our schools, and I'm 100% all in and have been. And yes, we're faced with some difficult times, and the schools are, they have needs. The community has needs. Bond wise, if somebody can't, if financially they can't afford to put any additional money towards their taxes, I understand that, and I support that. I do not support anybody being taxed out of their home, and I don't want to see anybody get taxed out of their home. And so if that makes you a no vote, then I 100% support that. But like Ryan said earlier, everybody is doing the best they can with what they have, right? And that's what the district's doing. And at the end of the day, I just want to continue to support the community, support our schools, and keep it going in the right direction, to make it a place where people are proud of their community, they're proud of their schools, and want to be a part of our community and our schools.
Okay, and Mr. Watson?
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of successful business people, but not just that, mentors in general in my entire life. And, my father taught me a long time ago that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I don't know that I could fully wrap my brain around that at the time that he told me, but it's true in everything that you do. So, coming into this, sure, I've been here my whole life, and I know probably a majority portion of the community at this point in time in some way, shape, or form. But I guess my own personal stance is that, if the community or the board was looking for a cheerleader that did nothing but support the ISD no matter what, I'm probably not your guy. If the community is looking for somebody that's going to strike down any way, shape, or form of supporting the district or not brainstorming new ways of doing things, I'm probably not your guy either. But, if you're looking for someone that can help bridge that gap, and, I'm not asking anyone on either side to change their opinion, but what I'm asking for is to keep an open mind about what the district is doing and the challenges that they face, the same way that I think the ISD and the board should keep an open mind in district to the challenges that individual taxpayers are facing right now. And for all of us, it's a brand new world. Things have not necessarily gotten better in a lot of ways since COVID, but we're in this together. And, I think that any well-run organization, to your point, and if you have an agenda, it's going to get, get found.
Oh yeah. You'll be exposed.
Any good organization or business, the best thing that I've been told and learned is you surround yourself with the best people that you possibly can.
Right.
And whenever you do that, you get out of the way. And that's what I see with our faculty and our teachers and the kids that have come out in the ISD. And, if I didn't feel like I could contribute to that from the community's perspective or the ISD, then I wouldn't be here running today, because Lord knows I don't necessarily need another headache in my life.
You got that right.
Right.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming, and I appreciate you're willing to serve. All I can say is Joshua is one of the very best districts in this region, and I know that from a stat point of view, statistics. I see your grades, and I see what's going on in your district and around us and other districts as well, and y'all are one of the best districts in this region, and I hope that continues. The only way it can continue is to pursue the goals that you're trying to pursue.
Right.
You can't go backwards and maintain excellence. So, like I said, on Thursday, I have Leah Wright come in, and I'm sure she'll have some more information about the bond and whatnot, and and maybe some of the reaction to it. And but I wish you the very best. I hope you win. I hope you win on Saturday. That. All right.
Thank you for,
thank you for having us.
No problem. Well, and guys, we'll see you all on Thursday.